I wrote this piece called Time several years ago, and I recorded it in shorter form. And the reason I called it Time is because when I came up with the idea, it seemed to be kind of an antique or ancient sounding theme. At the same time, it was sort of timeless, so I called it Time. The thing that especially appealed to me about the theme and variations form is that it's episodic and that you can present a lot of different emotions, or in the way I was looking at different stages and phases of life. You can have something playful and light, or dramatic and serious, and everything in between. So the idea started to dawn on me that it would be interesting to try to present all these phases or stages of life and condense them into a 6-minute piece of music. 6 minutes doesn't, in the classical world, is not a very long piece. For me, 6 minutes is pretty long because typically my pieces only last 3 or 4 minutes. The main theme that carries through the whole song is this melody. Da 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 da. That's the melody. The piece starts and ends with a chord. It's pretty harmonically straightforward, the piece itself, except for this chord that begins and ends the tune and comes between many of the variations. That chord is technically called a B minor with a sharp fifth in it. And it has this somewhat dissonant, well, actually, to a lot of people, very dissonant interval of a minor second. But within the context of a chord, it's very colorful, but it's a question mark. It's a kind of a ponderous thing, which I thought was important because our lives begin and end in wonder or in a question mark. And every time I assert something like one of these variations, I keep coming back to the question mark, because just like in life, you can't get too certain about anything without the question mark or life's question coming back to you. When I write something, I'm generally not thinking about whether something's in 4/4 or 3/4. There's even a part in this that's in 11. I didn't really think about that. I don't think about that till I'm writing it out. And I found that I was using a lot of sextuplets, like. Or. And I didn't realize that till I'm starting to write it down, because then all of a sudden you have to boil it down to what's happening rhythmically and harmonically. The main theme, which is presented in a lot of different ways, sometimes with single lines like I just played for you, or originally it's done with pretty basic harmony. That's the basic theme. But I also try to put it into different contexts too, like. And there you have the minor second again. It keeps coming around. I don't like things to totally resolve. In fact, I play with guys who don't like it that I do that. I often like to end chords, or end songs with a chord that seems unresolved, like a half step up or whatever. But I like it because that's life. Life doesn't always resolve. And in this piece, I got to kind of express this overall philosophy I've been working on for my entire life, since I was a little kid, actually, because I had always been afraid of the random element and always looking for the design aspect that can overlap or at least justify the random aspect. For those people who have listened to me for a long time, they know that I don't play harmonics very often. It just never became a part of my playing. I do state the theme for the 10th time, because there are 9 variations. I don't really consider it a variation. I do state the melody, the theme, in harmonics right before the end. I've spent the last, I don't know, 20 years basically playing a sort of acoustic jazz, kind of in the spirit of Django Reinhardt, but it goes beyond that as well. And it has its very American element as well. But I haven't listened to guitar players much recently. I think a lot of guitar players should stop listening to guitar players because then you just get more guitaristic ideas. I've been listening to classical piano, and since I'm a self-taught musician with no classical training, that was kind of a revelation to me. So I'm reading about historic pianists like Alfred Cortot, even William Capel, Dinu Lapati, people like that, and listening to their performances. And what's really interesting about that is they all perform the same repertoire. They all do the same pieces by Chopin or whatever. And what was really interesting to me is how different each one of them can make these stock pieces. Like a Chopin scherzo, they all play it slightly differently. They play different tempos. They use rubato in different ways. This got me thinking about, because when you play as long as I do, you get kind of bored with yourself as a player. So I had to find a new way to enjoy music. So as much as I can, I try to apply what I learned from that to what I'm doing now. And that is exactly why a piece like this occurred. And hopefully with time, that kind of influence can show its way into what I do even more. And not probably a very direct way, but a really clear indirect way.